Alright guys, welcome. Let's go ahead and get started. So for the first one, we're going to go ahead and break down 32 to be 8 and 4. We have 4 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. We have a 2, a 2, and a 2. Now this is the fourth root. So remember, we're taking 4 of a kind out. So these 4 2s are going to come out. The 1, 2 is going to stay inside. X cubed can't be divided by 4. Y5 I'm going to break down to Y4 and Y1. So 4 divided by 4 is y to the first power. The y to the 1 stays in. I'm going to break down Z6 to be z to the fourth and z squared. So Z4, z comes out as the power of 1, and z squared stays inside. So 2yz, fourth root of 2x cubed yz squared. All right, so this guy, we're going to cube root 16x to the 6 over the cube root of 3. Now remember, we can't have a cube root on the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that by multiplying the top and bottom by the cube root of 3 squared. We need 3 to the third power on the bottom. On the top, let's go ahead, we have third root of 16, so let's deal with that. We have 4 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. So this is a cube root. So these 3 2's are going to come out as the 2. X 6 divided by 3 is x squared on the outside. The cube root of 2 is left on the inside. Now that is over the cube root of 3. So now we're going to multiply the top and bottom by the cube root of 3 squared, because now we have 3 to the third power. So my final answer would be 2x squared cube root of 18 over 3. Final answer. All right, next guy. All right, remember, to get rid of a negative exponent, we flip it first. So 7 over 64 to the 1/2 power. 1/2 power just simply means that we're square rooting everything. So since we're square rooting, don't forget that plus minus. Now remember, you can't simplify this because you can't simplify a number outside of a radical, the 8, with a number inside of a radical, which is radical 2. All right, so number 4, let's see if I can get rid of this. All right, so number 4, we're going to break down that 500. So we're going to break it down to 50 and 10. Now I'm looking for 4 of a kind. 5 and 10, 5 and 2. So I have 5, 5 and 2, 5 and 2. So unfortunately, 500, there's no 4 of a kind. So that 500 is going to stay inside. So the b to the 14, we're going to break it down as b to the 12th and b squared. And c to the 33rd, I'm going to break it down as c to the 32 and c to the 1st. So as far as the 200 is concerned, that stays outside. I'm going to have b to the 3rd and c to the 8th join it. On the inside, we have the fourth root of 500, b squared, c to the 1st power. Number 5, we're going to break down 405. So if I divide anything that ends in a 5 by 5, it usually helps me out a little bit. So 9 times 9 is 81, so we have 3 4s. So these 3 4s are going to hook up and become 4 3s. Come one number 3 on the outside. X is going to join him. Who's going to stay inside? The 5 and the y squared. All right, so we want to start off anytime by separating them into 2 square roots. Both of these are square roots, so we're going to put that plus or minus in front. So plus or minus 4/5. All right, so number 7, I'm going to start by separating 24x cubed over the square root of y5. So let's go ahead and deal with each of these individually. So the square root of 24, we're going to break down. 24 is 12 and 2, 12 is 4 and 3. So we have 2, 2, a 3, and a 2. X cubed is going to be x squared times x to the 1st power. So when I deal with the top, we're going to take this pair of 2's out. So it's 2x on the outside square root of 6x on the inside. Now for y to the 5th, I'm going to break him down as y to the 4th times y to the 1. So 4 divided by 2 is y squared. We have the square root of y. Now we're almost there. The only problem with this is that we can't have a square root on the bottom. Since it's a square root, I just need one other y to get rid of it. So my final answer is y to the 3rd. Now again, it's y to the 3rd because you have this y squared and then this y that you take out as y to the 1. On the top, we're going to have 2x square root of 6xy. Final answer. All right, number 18, cube root of 16x6y, over 5. So my first step is always to separate it, cube root of 16x6 over cube root of 5. So I'm going to deal with this cube root of 16x6 first. We have 4 and 4, which gives us 4 2's. So only 3 can get married this time because of the cube root. So I have a 2 on the outside at x cubed. Excuse me, that x is not cubed, it is x, no. We'll just do this. This is a squared. There we go. And then we have a 2 left inside. On the bottom, I still have the cube root of 5. Now, because I can't have a radical in the bottom and it's a cube root, I'm going to multiply by the cube root of 5 squared. So on the top, I now have 2x squared cube root of 25 times 2 is 50 over just the number 5. All right, remember with this, we have to flip it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it first. So that gives me m squared n cubed on top, negative 4m to the 4th n cubed on bottom. Now I notice the n cubes are the same, so those are going to cancel, and then we're going to subtract. Now because there's an m4 and it's on bottom, when I subtract the m squared from the m4, the m squared is going to stay on the bottom. Because nothing left is on top, we just leave the number 1. All right, so when we have these in the same base, remember that we keep the base the same. So 4 3/5 and 3/4 is going to be 6. Oh, we can't add these. We have to get common denominators. Fun. So 3/4 times 4 to the 3/4. So our common denominator is 20. So this needs a 4, this needs a 5. So now we're at 4 to the 12 over 20 times 4 to the 15 over 20. So when I add those, I'm at 4 to the 27 over 20. Here we subtract. So we have 81 to the 3/4 over 81 to the 1/2. So we need common denominators, so I'm going to multiply this by 2. So that gives me 81 to the 3/4 over 81 to the 2/4. So that gives me 81 to the 1/4. And if I take the 4th root of 81, that is just 3. All right, so number 12, we want to get the bases the same. So 3 to the 2/3 times 3 squared to the 2/3. So that's 3 to the 2/3 times 3 to the 4/3, which is 3 to the 6/3, which is 3 squared, which is 9. All right, so 13, how we get rid of a 1/4 power, we put it to the 4 over 1 power. So x minus 4 equals 3 to the 4th power. 3 to the 4th power is 81. Of course, we just did that. We add 4 to both sides. X equals 85. Here we're going to minus the 3 first. So 5x to the 1/2 power equals 2. we divide by 5. So x to the 1/2 power equals 2/5. To get rid of the 1/2 power, we're going to square both sides. So now I'm at x equals 4/25. For number 15, my first step is to, of course, add that 3 over to the other side. So 3 to x to the 1/2 power equals positive 3. My next step is to isolate that x to the 1/2 power by dividing both sides by 3. Now I'm going to square both sides to get rid of that 1/2 power. X equals 1. For 16, we're going to add 10 to both sides. So the square root of 5x plus 5 equals 10. I'm now going to square both sides to get rid of that radical. So now we're at 5x plus 5 equals 100. We're going to subtract 5, so we're at 5x equals 95. Divide both sides by 5. X is going to be 19. Check your answer. 19 times 5 is 95, 100. Perfect, it works. For this guy, we're going to go ahead and isolate that radical. So we're going to minus 6 to this side. So we get the square root of x equals x minus 6. Now when I square both sides, don't forget to FOIL the left-hand side. Anytime we have this, we're going to try to get it equal to 0, but because we have x squareds on both sides, they cancel. So now I'm at negative 12x equals negative 36. X will equal positive 3. Square root 3. Let's check our work. Square root 3 plus 6 does not equal 3. So this one's going to be no solution. All right. For this guy, we're going to square both sides right off the bat. Now when we do that, we're going to FOIL the left-hand side. So that gives me x squared minus 4x plus 4. Because we have x squared on both sides, they cancel. So I'm going to subtract this 4 over here, which gives me 5 equals negative 4x. I divide by negative 4. X equals 5 over 4, negative. Number 19, we're going to cube both sides. Now when we do that, we're not going to forget to cube that 2 on the outside. So 8x plus 16 equals 8x. The 8x's are going to cancel here, which happens to make this no solution. You get 16 equals 0. That does not equal 0. Number 20, we're going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 3, or cube both sides, I should say. So this is 2x plus 1 equals negative 64. Then we're going to go ahead and, let me just double check that, yeah. Minus 1, so we have 2x equals negative 65. We divide by 2. We get x equals negative 32.5. All right, so for 21, we're going to start by squaring both sides. So this gives us just 4x. Don't forget about that 6 to square him. So that gives me 4x equals 36x minus 36. I'm going to subtract this 4x and add the 36. So I get 32x equals 36. I divide by 32. X is going to be, when I take out the biggest number they have in common, which I think is only 4, you get 9 over 8. All right, we're almost there, guys. All right, so here we want to add the cube root of 4x minus 1 to both sides. So now I'm at the cube root of 6x equals the cube root of 4x minus 1. Now how do we get rid of a cube root? We cube it. 6x equals 4x minus 1. 2x equals negative 1. x equals -1/2. 23, I want to go ahead and add the n to both sides. So the square root of, hold on, 6n plus 19 equals 2 plus n. We're going to go ahead and square both sides. So this is going to be 6n plus 19 equals 4 plus 4n plus n squared. Now remember, we're going to put this in standard form and equal to 0. So n squared minus 2n minus 15 equals 0. N minus 5 and n plus 3. N could potentially be 5 or -3. So let's check this out. So 5 times 30, that's 49, that's 7. That's right, 5 works. -18 would be +1. Yeah, both work. Woo, we're going crazy here, ladies and gentlemen, going crazy. All right, last one. So we're going to square both sides. This is going to be a squared, not plus, minus 8a plus 16 equals 4 times a minus 5. We're going to distribute, so a squared minus 8a plus 16 equals 4a minus 20. Remember, when we have an a squared and an a and a number, we're going to get that bad boy equal to 0. So minus 4a plus 20. So a squared minus 12a plus 36 equals 0. That's a minus 6 and a minus 6. So a equals 6. If you want to get fancy, what are you going to say? Mult 2. But of course you don't have to do that. And it works. Great job, guys.